Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and as you can see we have a pedalboard cam protruding into view here, which can only mean one thing. We're looking at pedals today, and specifically we're going to be doing a bit of a pedalboard tour. I do these every so often. The pedalboard's had a couple of changes recently, so I thought now might be a good time to kind of run through that, show you what I've got on the board, all the different sounds. Most of these pedals I've done individual demos, reviews on, so if you have a search around on my channel you'll find videos on those, but today I just kind of want to show you how everything works together on the board like this. So the board itself is one that I made myself, and the main sort of like feature of it, if you like, is this section at the back. So the board itself plugs into the amp rather than cables from the guitar or the amp going into pedals. So basically what we've got down here is the guitar going in, then it goes through all of the front of amp pedals, then the guitar goes out and into the amp input, and then over there we've got the send and receive for the stuff that's in the effects loop. So basically I'm running the classic 4-cable method. Now the signal chain as it stands looks like this, but I'm actually going to go through the pedals in a slightly different order because I think it just kind of makes sense to do it like that. And we're going to start off at the top corner of the board with the Boss RV6 Reverb. Starting here because this is basically one of my always on pedals. The reverb pedal, reverb's one of those effects I find it difficult to play without. So just playing the guitar, which today is the H.J. Williams Aura. It's a very much guitar of the moment for me. I'm really enjoying this one. Guitar just on its own, without any sort of reverb, it's just very, very dry, quite dead. You strike a chord, you mute it, it just stops. Whereas if you put a reverb on, so this has got various different modes. So this is, I think it's currently the Hall setting. Yeah, so if I play a chord and then stop it, the chord just rings out. Much more spacious, richer sound, I think much more pleasing to the ear than just a purely dry signal. Now what the RV6 has got, it's got a bunch of different modes, and generally I always say buy a pedal for its sound rather than the fact it's a complete Swiss Army knife. This one actually covers both bases. It's got a variety of different reverb models. I generally tend to stick with Hall or Plate. The Hall is a good effect just to use on its own. It's quite a rich sound. But there's another mode which I really like, which is Plate. So this is I think quite a natural sounding reverb. Not quite as rich as the reverb from like the Hall setting. However, what I do sometimes do is sort of reach to the amp here. This amp actually has reverb on board. So this is the amp reverb, and this is the amp reverb with the plate reverb from the pedal. I really like that. People always talk about stacking overdrive pedals, but reverb is something you can stack as well. So rather than having one huge reverb sound, 2 subtle reverbs can actually build up and give you something quite pleasing. One of the things about guitar sounds is people talk about heavy guitar sounds often have a lot less overdrive or gain on them than you think. Good guitar sounds often have a lot more reverb than you think, and I think this demonstrates it quite well, having a little bit of reverb from the amp and a little bit of reverb from the pedal. I really like that as like a core bass tone. I would not be without reverb. Next pedal, which is very much an always on for me, is up the top right hand corner. It's the TC Electronic Sentry. This is pretty much like a set and forget pedal. It's a noise gate. I've not had a huge amount of bother with noise in my signal chain, but now and again certain strats, guitars with single coil pickups and higher gain can get a wee bit noisy, and the Sentry does a really, really good job at keeping that noise at bay. So basically when the gate is switched on like this, if there's no signal going through it, it just stays off. But when you play, the gate, as you can see, goes green. It's letting the signal through. Any noise is coming through, but it's masked by the sound of the guitar signal. Then when the signal drops below a level that's set on this threshold knob, then the gate closes again, stops any signal getting through and stops any noise. The Sentry is quite flexible as noise gates go, particularly with the use of Toneprints, which is a TC electronic thing, which we'll talk about a bit more on when we come to one of my other pedals. But generally I find just using this in the regular hiss setting does the job really well. Now just to the left of that is another TC electronic pedal, the Polytune. Really good tuner. Basically you can stand on that and it will mute your guitar signal and strum, and it gives you a view as to what strings are in tune. So looking at this, we can see that my low E is slightly sharp and my G, I think there was slightly flat. So then just strike an individual string and tune. Really simple to use, very good. It's got other modes on it. You can put it into strobe mode if you want really accurate tuning. Top left hand corner we've got the TC Electronic Flashback. Yeah, quite a few TC pedals on the board, and why not? TC pedals are really good. Now this one, as it's currently set up, so this is just my dry tone. I'll turn the reverb off, so a little bit of reverb from the amp. And the delay, it's a fairly simple delay setting. So not particularly long delay time. This is actually running a tone print that I created. It's based on the dynamic delay setting on the pedal, with a few tweaks and a little bit of modulation going on. So let's go to the mode that it's modelled on. So the dynamic mode on the Flashback is really useful. It gives you like a simple digital delay type sound where you play a note. Now what the dynamic mode brings to the party is, rather than just slavishly repeating and echoing what it hears coming in, it's sort of, if you like, it's listening to the guitar coming in, and if you're still playing, it sort of dials back the delay level a little bit, so you don't get the notes that you're playing swamped by the delay signal from the notes that you were playing before. And then when you kind of reach the end of a line, or you reach the end of a run, the pedal picks up on that and just brings the delay sound to prominence a little bit more. Just gives you a little bit of extra clarity. So like I say, that's the basic delay setting. I added in with a bit of reverb. Just really fills the sound out quite nicely. As I say, I've got a tone print created here. I must get around to doing a video about the TC Electronic tone print editor, which is really useful. But there's two ways you can handle tone prints. You can go to the TC app on your phone and you can put pre-defined tone prints onto the pedal. What you can also do is plug the pedal into your computer with a USB cable, run the tone print app on the computer, and you can like program your own sounds into the pedal using the tone print app. It allows you access to a lot of settings that aren't available just through the controls on the pedal itself. You can control the behavior of some of the controls. Really powerful, really flexible. You can come up with your own sound. So what we've got here is basically a delay sound based on the dynamic delay. But with a little bit of modulation in there as well. So these generally are like always on. I always have reverb. Most of the time I have delay, so I'll leave those on for the rest of this video, I think. Okay, let's go to the front of the amp, front of the signal chain, and sort of go through these in a bit more of a logical order. So the guitar comes into the pedal board. From the pedal input of the pedal board, it goes to the tuner. From the tuner, it goes to the noise gate, and then we've got a loop on the noise gate with the other pedals in. There's a few different ways you can use the noise gate. I find the one with using the loop to put the drive pedals in is actually the most effective. Tried I've got a compressor there, which is probably the next pedal we're going to come to, the Wampler Ego compressor. Tried that before the noise gate, after the in or out of the loop. It works better for me in the loop as well, so that's where it is. And this is quite a subtle compression effect. The main thing I like about the Ego compressor is it's got that blend control, so you can set that so you allow some of the uncompressed, unaffected signal into the mix as well. So if you want to go for more aggressive compression, you can do to give you more of a squashy sort of sound, but by having the mix allowing some of your clean signal through, you can retain some of the dynamics. So I've got it set like this. It works for me. Really, I'm just using this to give the sound a little bit of a lift. I mean, this is a bit of theme on my board. A lot of these pedals, they're not huge sound changes. The way you use reverb or delay or the compressor, it's just to add. Yeah, it just adds a little bit extra to the sound, makes it a bit more rich, a bit more interesting. It's not a huge change to anything. Okay, after the compressor, we've got some drive pedals, and I've got lots of options for drive on this board. I've got options for drive on the board. I've got several options for drive on the shelves behind me. I've got too many gain pedals, but I've got certain ones I swap in and out, and other ones that tend to live on the board a bit more long term. The three that are on the board at the minute are the JHS and Boss Angry Driver, the Digitech Bad Monkey, and the Frederic Effects Golden Eagle. We'll start off with the Angry Driver. This again is a super flexible pedal. Don't buy pedals because they're Swiss Army knives. Buy something that sounds good. This one covers both. I really wanted the sound of an Angry Charlie, so this is one of the modes on here, which just gives you the basic JHS Angry Charlie overdrive sound. Lovely high-ish gain overdrive, trying to be basically a Marshall JCM 800 in a pedal, and it does that job really well. So even if you only want the sound of an Angry Charlie, this is a very good choice because it is actually a little bit more affordable than the original JHS Angry Charlie pedal. A little bit different in it's only got one tone control rather than multiple tone multi-band tone control like you've got on the Angry Charlie, but for affordability it's a really good compromise. But this is like a twin pedal, so you've got the Angry Charlie in there as well, but you've also got a blues driver, Boss Blues Driver. So just put that into Boss Blues Driver mode. Nice, rich, sparkly sort of overdrive there. I tend to use this more probably as the blues driver mode than I do Angry Charlie at the moment. There's an option on here. There's another little remote socket here where you can put a foot switch in to allow you to switch between the Angry Charlie mode and the blues driver mode in different settings. You can set it so you've got blues driver going into Angry Charlie going into blues driver and Angry Charlie in parallel. Lots of different settings and lots of flexibility, particularly when you use the remote foot switch. I'm not a great one for switching around between sounds while I'm playing. I'll just tend to pick a sound and just keep it for a song. So just picking my sound by using the mode knob here, that's fine for me. I brought this one back to my board recently. I was doing some overdrive shootouts basically around the Bad Monkey when there was all that, you know, that hoo-ha about the video that Josh Scott did about the Bad Monkey pedal, and I was doing lots of shootouts between Bad Monkeys, clones, clones, tube screamers, and I brought this one back onto the board because of the blues driver circuit as another classic classic overdrive pedal to shoot out. And it was really interesting how much I enjoyed it after having had a bit of a break from it, and a lot of the feedback I was getting on the video that I did, quite a few people saying, yeah, I actually prefer the sound of the blues driver over the sound of a tube screamer or a clone or whatever. So yeah, it's a useful pedal to have on the board because of all the different modes, and particularly I'm really enjoying the blues driver sound. So next to that we've got the Digitech Bad Monkey, really just because I've had one of these for years and years and years. I got it, I think it cost me £25 or something, possibly even a bit less. Well, I must be going back, ooh, how long am I going back? Or at least 10 years, possibly longer. But this is just a really nice sort of tube screamer-ish. Tube screamer mid-hump overdrive pedal. As you can see from here, it's not set particularly high. Maybe it's giving this signal a little bit of a lift into the amp. Not set particularly aggressively, and it does what you'd expect a tube screamerish sort of pedal to do. And to the left of that again, we've got the Frederic Effects Golden Eagle. So this is a clone, basically a very faithful copy of the legendary Clone Centaur, and I really like this. It's got a little bit of a mid hump to it, but it's not like the Bad Monkey. I know you can make the Bad Monkey sound like a clone. That was what the shtick, part of the shtick in Josh's video. But I've got this set up with slightly different sound, and I really like the way that this works with like single coil setting. So if I got something like this. One of the advantages of having all these different overdrive pedals, of course, is you can combine them, and I don't think there's actually a bad combination of these three. So if we start just with the Bad Monkey, stack that with the Golden Eagle, and so going back a bit to what I was saying before about it's not about having lots and lots of gain. These are set fairly conservatively, perhaps with the exception of the Angry Charlie. They haven't got tons and tons of gain, so they stack quite nicely. So rather than having tons and tons of gain, you've got a little bit on top of a little bit, and it just enriches the sound. So that's a nice combination. Or we could go Bad Monkey and Blues Driver. Or we could go Blues Driver and Golden Eagle. Or just for the hell of it, we'll go all three. So yes, with three pedals there, plenty of flexibility. Now the last pedal that's going into the front of the amp is the most recent addition to the board. It's the Xvive, or Xvive, not sure how you pronounce it, singing Autowah. Now I've had a proper wah-wah pedal for as long as I can remember. I think when I first started getting it to Joe Satriani, I think was when I got that. But the problem I've always had with a wah-wah pedal is I guess I'm fundamentally lazy. I don't like having to play the pedal while I'm playing the guitar. And recently I just had a hankering for like a wah sound, so I picked this up bit cheap and cheerful, but it's quite good fun. So basically you just set it and it responds. There's, you know, all sorts of electronics in there to respond to your playing and apply a wah sound. Yeah, definitely not an always-on pedal, but it's a bit of fun. Now, normally I would have had this pedal like very early in the signal chain. As it happens, just because of the way I cabled the board up, it's actually in the loop along with the gain pedals coming out of the Sentry. So the signal chain is Sentry to Autowah compressor, and then the gain pedals. And from the gain pedals, it goes back into the amp. And then coming out of the amp, we have the effects loop. We've already looked at the reverb and the delay. They're towards the back end of the signal chain, where you would normally expect them to be. As we come out of the amp, on the effects loop's end, we've got two chorus pedals, two vastly different chorus pedals. We've got the Seafoam Plus from Keeley, and we've got the Boss CH1 Super Chorus. I'll go to the Boss first, I think. This is a fairly traditional, fairly middle of the road chorus, and I've got it set up here. As I said before, I've got a little bit of modulation on the delay signal, but the majority of the vast majority of the modulation you're hearing is coming from the chorus pedal. And I like this as like I say, a subtle-ish, you know, well, not extreme, standard-ish sort of chorus sound. It works all right, just on a clean tone, but it also works reasonably well, I think, with a distorted sound. The pedal that's actually before that in the signal chain, though, is the Seafoam Plus. So this is I've got this set in the tri-chorus mode. I did a video recently, I think, where I did a full review of this, so again, check that out. But this is a much different sounding chorus pedal. It's very rich. It's far from being like an always-on pedal. It's not one I possibly use that heavily, generally speaking, but when you want that rich, lush chorus sound, you really can't. You really can't beat that, you know, compared to the regular chorus. It's still better than a dry tone. But that really is something else. And one thing I would say about the Seafoam Plus is it really doesn't, to my ear, play quite so well with drive sounds. One probably best left for the clean tone, and that really is why I put that one on the board. So that basically is the signal chain. One thing you will have noticed down the bottom right hand corner here, we've got the Boss RC1 looper and a dual foot switch. The dual foot switch is for use with the looper as well. So with this you can do all the things you'd expect to do with a looper. So we'll just start off by recording a simple backing. And what I can do is I can just stop that by a simple press of the B switch on the Boss FS6 dual foot switch. The reason I put that foot switch on the board is you can use it to remote control the looper, and it's so much easier than trying to control all the looper functions just off the foot switch on the looper pedal itself, because you've got all sorts of combinations of single push to start recording, stop recording, double tapping on that, long presses. It's so much easier to have something that basically acts like an on and an off. So having stopped it, I can just start it again. Nice and straightforward. But what the loop allows you to do is to build up various layers to your sound. So I can start it playing back. Stop that. So basically what I've done there is just add another layer on top of that. It's not particularly good though, is it? So if I play it, started playing, and press the A switch, what that does is it deletes the last loop that I recorded. So if I make a mess up of it, it's a simple single foot switch click to get rid of that, rather than having to do press and holds or double presses or whatever. Just so much easier to use that. So we've got a simple start recording or start playing on the foot switch itself, a simple stop on the B button, and erase the last loop on the A button. And if we want to get rid of everything, just a long push on the B button and it deletes everything. Really useful looper, but like I say, a little difficult to use just with a single foot switch. That dual foot switch is a lot more helpful. So just to recap, in terms of signal chain, we've got the guitar going into the board, into the TC Electronic Polytune tuner, then it goes into the TC Electronic Sentry noise gate, and then in the loop of the noise gate goes to the Xvive or Xvive singing Autowah, the Wampler Ego compressor, the Boss GHS Angry Driver, Digitech Bad Monkey and Frederic Effects Golden Eagle drive pedals. Return on the loop to the Sentry, and there it goes into the front of the amp. Then on the effects loop send from the amp, we go into the Keeley Seafoam Plus, then the Boss CH1 Super Chorus, so two lovely chorus sounds, then TC Electronic Flashback delay, Boss RV6 reverb, and then into the loop Boss RC1 loop station, and then onto the effects loop return back to the amp. Yeah, so that's the pedal board. A bit bigger than some people's, but not super complex, and then, to be honest, not particularly adventurous in terms of sounds, really. It's all about drive, chorus, and delay and reverb. The wah pedal was a recent addition. I don't know how long it's going to be on the board for, but it's around for the time being. And things to consider, if you're putting your own pedal board together, like pedal board order, traditional order, having like filters, then compressors, then overdrives in front of the amp, then having modulation effects, then having delay, then having reverb. That's a very conservative, very traditional layout of pedals. But there's no hard and fast rule. If you find that overdriven reverb sounds better than reverbed overdrive, then yeah, go for it. But personally, and I think a lot of people would agree, that so conventional wisdom dictates that you have your time-based effects towards the end of the chain, but like I say, you don't have to. And the other things to consider is having multiple overdrive pedals set a bit more subtly, so you've got the option of subtle overdrive or stacking to give you more complex, more rich overdrive sounds. And the other thing is consider teaming a reverb pedal with the reverb on your amp. Reverb stacking is just as valid a thing to do as stacking overdrive pedals. Okay, plenty pedals on the board there which have got their own individual reviews, demo videos on the channel, so if you want to hunt those out, be my guest. Hope you found that interesting, and if you did, please click like down there, and if you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that are posted on the channel, then please click subscribe, which is also down there. Now, you're welcome to leave a comment, but I don't always get notified by YouTube when people leave comments on videos. So if there's something specific you want to ask me, whether it's about guitar pedals, guitar gear, playing, music theory, anything at all, you're better off going here, filling that form in. That way the question comes direct to me and I can get around to answering it in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.